on the next episode of Sips, Suds, and Smokes.
Well, our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, coffee, and pretty much anything else you can drink. And here are the whiskeys that we're going to be discussing today. We have Alberta Premium Canadian Rye Whiskey. From Thomas S. Moore, we have their Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Cognac Cask, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Madeira Casks, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Sherry Casks, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Merlot Casks. And from Larceny, we have the Larceny Barrel Proof B522, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522, and Cream of Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey bottled in bond.
Well, there was a few good ones today.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a good day.
Well, pitter patter, let's get at her.
We'll be right back after this break. Brought to you almost live from the Dude in the Basement Studios. Why? Because that's where the good stuff is. It's Sips, Suds, and Smokes with your smoking host, the good old boys. And now it's sippin' time.
Hey, yes, it's sipping time again. Welcome to this Sips episode where everything good in life is worth discussing. As always, we are the best thing on at 2 a.m.
Oh, no, not a fact anymore. Welcome Back Cotter is on.
Oh,
No, it's not.
That's not
Yes, it is.
fair.
Yes, I know it's not fair, but they put them on at 2 o'clock. We're no longer the best thing at 2.
They got Vinnie Barbarino.
How am I supposed to compete against Arnold Horshack
I know that.
and his mother?
We are.
Oh my God, that's just cold.
So now we are the second best thing at 2.
Well, at least we're in the top 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, this is Made Man Bob joining me today. Our Made Man Brent.
It's a pleasure to be here after last couple weeks I've had. You know, Kentucky Bourbon Festival, nice time. Basement at Bob's, nicer time.
Don't you need to do some sort of cleanse for your liver now?
What
Just
liver?
about.
He sold
Yeah,
that in
Brent-
high school for beer money.
Brent has a magic liver.
It sits in a jar next to his bed. He goes and talks to it every
Take
day.
it out and wring it out.
Yeah.
They're detachable and there's a six pack.
At this point, it's clear. Looks like a jellyfish. Hey, good old boy Harmeet.
Good day, Bob.
Good day. He's getting his Canadian out.
I lived in Winnipeg for 10 years, man. I was a kid. I never got the accent.
Can you say hoose? Yeah.
Hoose
Yeah.
and moose.
And moose. Yeah. And good old boy Justin.
Good morning and take off, eh?
All right. Well, our sip segments are all about wine, distilled spirits, tea, coffee, and pretty much anything else you can drink. And here are the whiskeys that we're going to be discussing today. We have Alberta Premium Canadian Rye Whiskey. From Thomas S. Moore, we have their Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Cognac Cask, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Madeira Casks, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Sherry Casks, the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Merlot Casks. And from Larceny, we have the Larceny Barrel Proof B522, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522, and Cream of Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey bottled in bond. So we're going to have Justin tell us all about our sips ratings.
One sip. Give me a glass of water to wash out my mouth.
I'm like you. I'm trying to figure out what that's supposed to be.
He's trying to do Canadian, but it's not going.
That's Canadian?
Came out as Irish. Very weird.
Yeah, it sounded like a
Wait, there's
leprechaun
no-
on
Yeah,
There was
did.
no A in there.
amphetamines.
There was
Yeah.
no,
No way.
Yeah.
2 sips.
That sounded like Speedy Gonzalez.
Nice. But what else do you have, eh?
Well, isn't that nice?
Oh, my God.
3 sips. Interesting. What was this again?
Interesting.
It was not a Canadian accent.
I know.
No, it was interesting. It was just
It was
not Canadian.
interesting.
Yeah. 4 sips, eh? Let's keep this secret to ourselves.
The A would be at the end of that sentence.
Pour me another.
B.
That's classified.
Take off, eh?
There you go. There you go. See?
5 sips. Oh my. I was unaware anything could be this good.
Oh my goodness.
All I know is there are people in Canada right now that are all like,
We just lost their entire Canadian audience.
Yeah, they can take off, eh?
So so why don't we, dear Lord, let's, okay, you want Canadian? Okay.
No, I don't.
We need to get started.
Well, pitter patter, let's get at her.
There you
There you
go.
go. Let's get started.
Those are the Hicks.
Yep. So go ahead, Brent. Tell us about our first whiskey.
Okay, our first whiskey is Alberta Premium Canadian Rye Whiskey. Comes in at 40% ABV, 80 proof. It's produced by Alberta Distillers Limited, one of the first distilleries to create a true 100% rye whiskey. This is the first release of their signature core expression, Alberta, premium to the U.S. market. The premium 100% Canadian rye whiskey currently boasts the title of the #1 selling 100% rye whiskey in the world. That's an interesting boast. So the color on this, very, very light straw. The on the nose, I get a little bit of a cut hay, some cherries. It's all like on the faint side. And I guess it's because it's that 40 proof, 80 proof. On the palate, I get
It
some
also
cherries.
comes off the still really high proof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's Canadian. It's a lighter style of whiskey. So
Yeah, this is on the palate. I get some cherries, vanilla, a little bit of mint, a little bit of cinnamon. Don't think that this is your American rye. It's not. This is just like a smooth little sipper. I can understand why they boast as the #1 selling, because this is going to appease to a lot of a broader audience than just those people looking for an American bourbon and all the tasting notes that come with that. I think this expands their product line, and I guess that's why why people enjoy it. But finish is it's nice. It's pleasurable. Enjoy drinking it. Could sip it, put it in with a little bit of a juice or an ice cube, and sit around the pool or around the iceberg if you're in Canada. Harm, what do you think?
I disagree with everything you said.
Thank you.
You are wrong, and you're proud of it. You're not afraid to show it. That's good. It's good. Nice, confident about you.
Bastard! You complete utter bastard!
Yeah. Look, I'm from Canada, but when I left, it was 13, so I was not drinking yet, even though all my peers in elementary school probably were.
no. Let's okay. Left? No.
I was kicked out.
Asked to leave.
Kicked out at 13.
We came to Florida for a reason. It was
Yeah.
cold there.
It's called indictments. Yeah.
So I just never developed a taste for Canadian whiskey after, being of age. It's just too light. And you pulled out hay and cherries and cinnamon. I mean, I get the hay, the grassy notes there, but I don't get much else. It's just hay and like a sugary sweetness, a little bit of honey, a little honeysuckle, and that's it. And the palate is just so weak and watery. This is not the Canadian whiskey I like. Alberta Premium makes one of my favorite Canadian whiskeys ever, and that's their cask strength.
Right, and that is delicious.
That is fantastic.
That is great stuff. But this is not what they're going for here.
This is their mixing whiskey.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't mix whiskeys generally.
That's what
I beg to differ, sir. I've seen you blend. I've seen you mix plenty of whiskeys.
All right. I blend a couple single malts.
In your
There you
gullet,
go.
yeah.
See that? He's going back.
They all mix in my belly.
Yeah.
So frankly, if you're going to do a Canadian and ginger, yeah, sure, this would be fine. But I didn't get all those flavors that you got, Brent. I mean, this is just didn't do anything for me. There was it was a watery palate, and I got some unexpected heat in the mid palate. Bob, what do you think?
It's Canadian. It is absolutely 100% Canadian in style. It's a lighter style of whiskey, which, may or may not be your thing. But it's just like, some of the finest whiskey in the world is Japanese. That's a very, very light style of whiskey. So I I try not to judge it, off of, a knucklehead who wants to drink 140 proof death bourbon the rest of my life.
Well, what are you saying?
I wasn't talking to you.
Well, the fat man made a funny.
Yeah. So, it is very Canadian in style. I get it. This is,
I don't need any water to wash out my mouth. It's just there's nothing.
no,
there for
well,
me.
the thing that got me on this one is how sweet it is.
It's very sweet.
Canadian whiskey is not generally a bone dry style. It tends to be a little bit on the sweet, but this is much sweeter than a lot that I've had. It's like sweet candy, almost like a candy corn on the nose.
And who likes candy corn? We're coming up on Halloween, man. It's the old lady giving you the candy corn that you got to egg her house.
I hate the candy corn.
But I get a sweet caramel. I get a dry oak on it. The finish on it, light to medium, but well made. A solid example of a classic Canadian whiskey.
I'm also that guy who doesn't drink Crown Royal, so don't take what I've said to heart.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's you can't go. You have to be objective in the fact that you have to rate it for what it is, as opposed to what you're jonesing for
My
at the
actual
moment.
palate. You're right. So you're right. It's solid.
It's a solid, extremely well made whiskey. I agree with you. Their cask strength is absolutely fantastic.
Over the top.
I would drink that every day. I think they should only make that and nothing else and hold back all the stuff they're sending to Vermont and just keep bottling cask strength, because that, if you see that, Alberta, oh man, grab it. That one is fantastic. But this is more, this is more of the middle of the shelf, the one they're probably, they're selling a zillion bottles of this, number one selling 100% Canadian rye in the world. Well made. I can't say anything bad about it, for sure.
Justin, you gonna make cocktails with this? You're drinking this. I see you going back to that glass.
I'm thinking of what to mix it with. On the nose, I got like white grapes, and then initially it was bitter, and I got a acetone note. On the palate, I've never had this before. I drink it, and there's a pause before there's any flavor. And then after the brief pause, I get a big rye hit, and then there's a metallic finish to it.
I think you ate something bad.
You also just got back from a week in Napa, so I know there's a pause that your brain is still soaking at this point.
Certainly possible.
But again, a solid, well-made, classic Canadian whiskey. My problem is I grew up in an era where people were drinking Canadian whiskey and Crown Canadian Club, and they were mixing it with ginger ale, and it was like
you can do this by the pool.
Yeah, it felt like Austin Powers, X out,
Right.
So
this is not your Kentucky rye. I mean, this is a.
Well, no,
exactly.
No,
That's what
Pennsylvania rye
or any kind of rye in the United States.
Well, that's the nice thing is rye is different all over the place too.
Yes.
We have an example of that coming up later.
Maryland rye is different from Monongahela style rye, is different from Kentucky rye, is different from Indiana, and it's different from Canadian. So.
Yes.
But we're going to be rating the Alberta Premium Canadian Rye Whiskey a solid 3 sips.
Interesting.
We'll be back. Hey, and we're back. We just finished discussing the Alberta Premium Rye. So we are moving on now, and we're going to go talk a little bit about the Thomas S. Moore Collection. The Thomas S. Moore Collection is produced by the team at Barton 1792 Distillery, and it was designed to be a new category of extended finished bourbon. To create these whiskey, Barton 1792's signature high rye recipe is aged for 5 to 6 years in new charred oak barrels before filling into other casks that previously matured various wines or spirits from around the world. These whiskeys are then left to age from anywhere from a year to 4 years. This extended cask finishing method results in elegant whiskeys, each displaying a distinct flavor profile reflecting nuances of both the bourbon and the finishing cask. The brainchild of distiller Danny Kahn. Hey, Danny, good guy. He personally tasted every barrel that went into this release, created a few sub-blends for each expression, and sorted those sub-blends into categories of flavors from which the final blends were chosen. The whiskeys we have today are from the second release in the collection. So we're going to go to the first one, which is the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Cognac Cask. It's 46.7% ABV, 93.4 proof. Finished in ex-cognac casks that previously held cognac for 6 or more years. The bourbon was left in the cask to mature for another 2 to 4 years before it was then blended into this expression. So, on the color, a nice goldish bronze to it. On the nose, yeah, and this is the thing that we were all discussing. Everything we've done so far from Thomas Moore, these really need air. When you first open them up, they're all muted. And the longer they sit on the table, the more that it comes out.
This is a completely different whiskey from when we first tasted.
Completely different whiskey. So now I'm really getting a lot of fruit on this. I get just a slight bit of citrus in the tip of the nose, but the thing that I mostly get is honey blossoms and jasmine. There's a nice floral note on it. The nose on this is just in the last hour has went up 100%.
It was so closed earlier.
Yeah, really much more closed. And on the palate, I definitely get the orange on that. I get a little bit of dried fruit. I get a little bit of earthiness to it, like a little bit of a slatiness. Toasted oak. I definitely get a little bit of cedar on it. The nice thing is the cognac is not overwhelming. A lot of times when you do a barrel finish, it's like drinking what was in the barrel before.
Well, we don't know if the barrels were wet or they'd taken them apart and shipped them too, because if the barrels were dry when they filled them.
I'm guessing they were probably dry.
They're not going to impart as much cognac.
The finish on it, medium finish, but solid whiskey. And again, just coming back to it after sitting here and tasting it, and then going through this far in the show, the nose especially is vastly increased. So, what'd you think, Harm?
I got apricot, like you said, bright citrus. The flowers I got was lavender, a little earthiness. I don't get the like a fresh cognac barrel. I've had other cognac finished whiskeys. I get more spice, and more floral notes. I think that's why I think these were maybe drier.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think they were probably dry.
On the palate, it's apricot and orange and vanilla, and there's an earthy note, but I didn't get that as much as on the nose. I didn't get that chalky that you're talking about, and I don't taste the cedar, but everything else I pretty much agree with you.
Yeah, I ended up with a little bit of a grapefruit on the palate. Especially,
Really?
Yeah, especially the second time around.
Stop eating the grapefruit. Put that down.
I know that.
We're trying to drink whiskey here. I know it's early in the morning and breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but come on, man.
I know. But
It's a citrus note, but it's not orange. Maybe I said orange, but you're right. It's not orange.
It's
citrusy,
but it's not
like a pink grapefruit. More.
Yeah, it's not one citrus fruit. It's like all citrus fruit.
It's muddled.
Maybe not lime. I'm not getting
the
lime.
word I have is muddled. It's kind of a muddled citrus.
Yeah. I think he's right. It's kind of like orangey and pink grapefruity.
Justin?
I think if Flavor Pack made a citrus, that would be it.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So not this company, but some companies will use the Flavor Pack company to emulate different smells and flavors, and they'll kind of make a generic.
Oh, you're talking like Flavor Man.
Flavor Man.
Yeah.
Right. So I did not like this when we poured it, but it just keeps getting better and better and better.
It was really muted when we first poured it.
And if I ever met Mr. Khan, I would ask him, the master distiller, how long do you leave him out before you taste them? Because it changes so much. I like to know what point he hit it at. I also got notes of vanilla and some soil, oak, cedar, and I found the finish to be medium.
Yeah, you both got cedar. I didn't get the cedar.
Yeah, back palate after you swallow, just slightest hint. Not like when you open your grandmother's cedar chest and just that slight bit of cedar to it.
The humidor.
He licked a cigar box.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a humidor just without the tobacco in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, kids, what do we give it?
Well, we're going to be rating the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Cognac Cask, a well-deserved 3 sips, if I can get to it. There you go.
Interesting.
So we're going to have Justin tell us about our next whiskey.
So our next whiskey is the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Madeira casks. It's 48.25% alcohol by volume, or 96.5 proof. And no, I did not do the math. The whiskey was finished in Madeira casks for between 2 and 4 years. On the nose, I got oak and Madeira notes, hints of tobacco, citrus, dried fruits. On the palate, it was oaky and sweet, and it was very well balanced. This is a good representation of a Madeira finished spirit. What did you think, Bob?
It caught me off guard when I first tried it, because when I see Madeira, usually it's a sweeter Madeira. So I was expecting that sticky bomb. So when I got it, Harm and I talked about it. I think it's a Sertial Madeira. It's definitely a drier Madeira. You don't get that big, sticky, sweet bomb to it. On the nose, I get a little bit of oak in the tip of the nose. I get a rich tobacco leaf, a little bit of dried fruit, which is the Madeira coming through. And on the palate, I get a caramel, I get a earthy raisiny to it, but it's not, the really sticky, sweet, earthy raisiny. A little bit more drier on the palate, but very, very interesting. I thought it was well made. What'd you think, Brent?
Yeah, it's kind of reminded me of like a sangria with the muddled flavors.
Oh, you want one? I'll get the waitress.
Yes, but
bring me a bucket.
But with raisins in it, a sangria with raisins is kind of what way I would describe it. How I perceived it, and a little bit of a stickiness to your tongue, but everything was very forward palate. It just didn't coat everything was very front of your tongue.
Yeah.
It didn't coat, my mouth or anything like that.
Yeah, it missed the back palate.
Yeah, it missed the whole back palate. A little bit on the top of your mouth, but it just is like a little bit emptiness to me for this. The finish kind of died off quickly. It was Harm.
I ignored everything you guys said.
Thank you.
That's normal.
That's right.
The Madeira was mediocre at first. Again, with air, I can smell it.
It's significantly
amazing now.
increased. Yeah, the nose is there. There was no nose before.
Yeah. And you were saying it was like a Sertial, which I expect to be more nutty.
That's the thing that got me off, is there wasn't the nuttiness, which you usually get.
The air, I got the sweeter style of Madeira. I'm getting the dried fruits and the sweetness. Justin said tobacco. That's right. There's a little bit of sugar and a little bit of nuttiness on the palate at the very end, but it's decent. Yeah. It's a lot better than when it first opened it.
Oh, well, honestly, all of them we have from them have greatly increased with air.
Well, what Brent said, I said I was ignoring you, but I heard something about it being all on the tip of the tongue and on the top. You're right. There was nothing on the back. It was weird.
It's right. It's very, very front forward. It didn't coat your mouth at all. It was nothing.
About the front third of the tongue, a little bit on the side, the roof of your mouth, and then the back it dropped.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just
but I mean, we've had whiskeys that do that.
Oh, yeah. It's not the only one.
Yeah, it happens. What are you going to do? But it is what it is. But we're going to be rating the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Madeira Cask, 3 sips.
Interesting.
So let's go on to our next one. We're going to have Harm tell us about that one.
Thanks, Bob. The Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon finished in Sherry Cask, 49% ABV or 98.7 proof. How does that work out? Let's just be 98 proof, but whatever. There's a 0.7 in here somehow. This whiskey was finished in Oloroso Sherry Casks between 1 and 4 years. It's got a deep reddish copper color to it. The nose. This one unlike the others, I think the nose really stood out much more at first before it got all this air. And it hasn't changed too much.
No.
Sweet, rich fruit, toasted nuts. I got figs and a little bit of oak. On the palate, let me give it another taste. Sweet entry, soft, a little bit round. You get that dried fruit and nuts. The nuts really come out on the palate like a little bowl of nuts and candied fruit. Vanilla and a hint of cinnamon on the back. And the finish is medium long. This had the finish where the Madeira didn't.
Right.
Brent?
Yes. I also got a little bit of the tobacco on the nose, kind of followed through on the palate a little bit for me.
Yeah, like a sweet tobacco.
Yeah, at the end of it. But it's interesting how they do these, all these different finishes that they're doing. But that's what so many people are doing these days, is doing it. And I think the latest one is white oak or French oak.
French oak. Yeah. Everybody at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival, everybody had a French oak.
Everybody had a French oak. It was like the buzzword of the day, so it's something.
I keep wondering if like a ship of French oak just came in like 6 months earlier and like, hey, we got a sale.
It's a blue light
It's like
special at
lumber
Kmart.
liquidators sale on white French oak.
So this one I enjoyed definitely more than the other one, because the way it coated your mouth better and the finish was longer. But yeah, it's just
Prettier whiskey.
yep.
Yeah.
Justin?
I remember talking to Made Man Brent 6 years ago, and he said the next big thing is going to be finished whiskeys. And boy, was he right. And we have a lot today. So what's interesting about this is the Merlot cask.
We're on the Oloroso one still. You've jumped ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. On the sherry cask,
He's been drinking, folks. Don't mind him.
what was interesting was the finish was like a short to medium finish, and the sherry was decently balanced in it. I think it was pretty good. What'd you think, Bob?
I'm wondering which one he was drinking. Yeah. The color on this is what I would expect from a sherry finished whiskey. It's got a beautiful color to it, like a dark burnished bronze.
There's reddish glints through
Yeah. The nose, it's got a really nice fruit. It's got some nuttiness to it. You're right with the figs. The figs are there. A little bit of tobacco. And on the palate, just beautiful dried fruits, figs, a little bit of raisin, some nuts, some cinnamon on it. And,
There's some other spice in there. I just couldn't figure out what it is.
and a medium to long finish. So far, this is the best one of the three for me. So we're going to be rating the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon, finished in sherry cask. A well-deserved 4 sips.
That's classified.
Hell, I'd buy that. All right, so Brent's got the last one from Thomas Moore, so tell us about that one.
This is the Thomas S. Moore Kentucky Straight Bourbon, finished in Merlot casks. 46.65% ABV, 93.3 proof. This whiskey was finished in Merlot casks from several estates in Napa and Sonoma for between 2 to 4 years. Again, the color on this is kind of the same as the others, a copper penny, 80s copper penny color.
It's got some reddish glints too.
A little bit. Just a little bit, The nose is fruit, plums, more fruit, and a little bit of like a poppy flower nose to it. On the palate, nice coating. This one, I like the coating of the mouth on this one the best. Some of those, you get a nice soft taste to it, long. All those fruits that come through there, you get the plums, the raspberries, definitely a dark cherry to it. Just coat your mouth nice, and I like the finish. The finish is, I think, the longest one of all of them that we've had so far. So
I think you're right on the finish there.
yeah.
What do you think, Harm?
Oh, I have nothing to add to what you said, dude. You hit
Okay,
all
moving on then.
Yeah, he hit all the notes. It's a fruit bomb. Plums and dark cherries and raspberries, and it's quite good. Justin?
So I agree with a lot of what everyone said, but I noticed a note of potpourri slightly on the nose and definitely on the palate, which was interesting.
Don't eat the potpourri.
Yeah.
Right.
When you go to the bathroom and the urinal, don't eat the big mint. Yeah. We have to tell him that from time to time.
Every time.
Yeah. Well, every time. I'm trying to be nice. But his breath smells great, you know.
That's right. The Merlot was all on the back end for me. And it was interesting.
It's mid palate to back for me. Not all on the back, but a little bit in the mid. It's good fruit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it does. The very tip, the front edge, it misses a little bit, but just behind that, the rest of the palate all the way down the throat. Yeah.
I think this is the first Merlot finished bourbon I've ever had. I've had Cabernet finished bourbons. I love
trying
the
to
Pritchard
think.
Hill from Jefferson's. Remember we had that on the show?
Yeah, that was excellent,
fantastic.
Yeah. I can't think
I
of
don't know
another
if we've had
Merlot.
one or not.
I mean, it's got a great nose to it, and like the three before it, again.
And
If
we're
you-
in South
if you-
Florida, so
if you
it's
get-
Merlot.
Yeah. If you get any of the Thomas S. Moores, absolutely pour them, walk away for at least half an hour.
Yep.
Because the wine finish really benefits from the air. Definitely some really nice fruit on this, dried fruit.
That's what I think about if you go to a bar and you really want to taste the things properly, pour what you want next first, and then order something that and then when you can come back to the next one, and then you order your other one ahead. So you're always ahead of one, and you can really get what they really should be like.
Brent's a planner.
2 fists are not enough for Brent.
Yeah.
We need 4 hands.
Well, fortunately, he has the extra Y chromosome, so he has opposable thumbs on his feet like a chimp. So he can do 4 at once.
They
but
come in handy.
I don't want to know about that part, buddy.
Handy.
But great, great fruit on it, dried fruit and plums and raspberries, a little bit of dark cherry on it. And on the palate, rich, dark fruit, a little bit of spicy white pepper for me. It's got a great mouthfeel, coats the tongue, other than the very front edge. It's got a good finish to it as well. So,
Balanced.
yeah.
When I first tasted it, I thought the finish was a little bit off, but with the air, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to be rating the Merlot Cask Thomas Moore 4 sips.
That's classified.
Hey, and we're back, and we just finished talking about 4 really good whiskeys from Thomas S. Moore. So we're going to go on to our next whiskey, which is from the folks at Heaven Hill, which is the Larceny Barrel Proof. This is release B522, 61.9% ABV. So 123.8 proof. Mash bill is 68 corn, 20% wheat, and 12% malted barley. It's non-aged, stated between 6 and 8 years is the general consensus. Larceny Barrel Proof B522 is the second batch of Larceny Barrel Proof for 2022, following the traditional coating system established by Heaven Hill for their barrel proof releases. The first letter of the batch indicates which of that year's releases the bottle was part of, starting with A, while the second digit in the number determines the month of the year, and then the third and fourth digits indicate the year. So this is the second release, which was originally released in May of 22. Didn't hit the stores
It didn't hit Florida for 2 more months.
Yeah, and until at least the end of July. Release is a tricky word, but let's get to it. So, on the nose, big fresh oak. It's got a sweet brown sugar and berries, and lots of black cherry. Oh yeah, great nose. And on the palate, let's have a sip. This is not what you think when you're thinking a wheated whiskey. This thing is big, it's bold, it's spicy. I get a lot of white pepper up on the front of the palate and the teeth.
Head on, dude. You hit the nail on the head.
Fantastic. I mean, it's if I handed this to you and poured it to you and didn't tell you what it was, you would never in a million years guess that this is a wheated Larceny. Yeah, this is the weeded brick in the teeth is what this is. I think this is one of the better Larceny releases that I've had in the last year or two from Heaven Hill. So what do you think, Brent?
My mouth is tingling. It is just a flavor.
Well, you're eating Pop Rocks, knucklehead.
Well,
Stop it.
Pop Rocks in the form of a Larceny. It is, Larceny is nice. When you have a regular Larceny, you're just enjoying it. It's a nice weeded bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
This one here,
This one's turned to 11.
Yeah, kick it up a little bit because this is enjoyable. It lingers in your mouth. Your whole mouth feels it. That pepper really rings through. So you think you're drinking a rye just because of the pepper that you get that comes through. You wonder why they ever didn't make this is what you're thinking. That, why did it take so long for them to come out with
everything
this?
doesn't have to cost a fortune. Everything doesn't have to be insanely rare. But you look at it and you go, why don't you just make this and nothing else? Just make this.
Just make this.
Just make this and you're
Right.
fine.
Wow. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Just make this.
Yeah.
This is so much better.
Well,
than
it's the same thing when we were talking to Alberta, man. Just make that cask strength. Skip everything else. Just make that one. I will buy that stuff by the truckload.
So if you're listening to us, just make everything cask strength and we will buy it.
Yeah, that also. Yeah.
They did a good job.
I don't know. What does Johnny say?
Isn't happy hour anytime?
Well, I think he's right. What do you think, Harm?
Happy hour is anytime. I got creme brulee. You guys know how you guys said that. Creme brulee and raspberries. I didn't get so much cherry as raspberry on this. I think we were talking off the air, and Justin said maraschinos, and I got that on the palate.
I got
Maraschino cherry.
the distinct cherry, and then I got that mishmash.
But on the nose, it was the raspberry.
I got the mishmash of berries, like everything.
Yeah. Brown sugar, but what we all have said so far is that white pepper, and that really hits. And the finish is long, actually. It's pretty long. I like
It's
it.
a very long finish.
Yeah.
Justin, do you agree with us? Are you going to be the iconoclast?
I do agree, but
You want me to explain Iconoclast to him?
I'll have to look at my
I wouldn't want to be
thesaurus
condescending,
later.
but he wouldn't understand that.
Thesaurus,
definitely.
Brontosaurus, something. So what interesting about this is this tastes to me exactly like an old fashioned in a bourbon cask strength form, which is really cool. But my favorite
It's not
part,
that sweet. People
well,
put
I mean,
a
a
lot more sugar.
well balanced one. Like if you took,
Oh, your
like dry
bartender likes you.
vermouth.
It's not 3/4 simple syrup. Yeah.
There's a drink called South of Hudson, Manhattan, that some bartender in Savannah made.
That's a good analogy.
And it's just like that. And then my favorite part is it makes my two lower front teeth numb. So I want to know how much and how fast do I have to drink this so that like my teeth fall asleep? Because
So
I
you can
think
go
it's
to the
heading there.
dentist, or is this some sort of hockey injury? What happened?
Maybe we
to you?
should just pour it on. No, let's pour it in your ear and see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. It's like when my wife was in the hospital with our first child and they gave her the epidural. I'm like, can I have one? And he looks at me and goes, I don't think you need one. I said, yeah, but I want it in my neck. I want to, I'll stand on my head. I just, I'm looking for a different area to go numb at this point.
Yeah, this stuff's cool.
Yeah, this is one of the better releases of Larceny Barrel Proof. And that's saying something because they're always good,
I loved last year's B522, but now you guys have got me reconsidering that. I think this may be better.
Well, we're going to be
B521, sorry.
We're going to be giving the score for Larceny Barrel Proof B522 is going to be a well-deserved 4 sips.
That's classified.
All right, so we're going to have Justin tell us about our next whiskey from the folks at Heaven Hill.
So our next whiskey is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522.
You had me at barrel proof.
Right? We always do. And it's 60.5% alcohol by volume or 121 proof. The mash bill is 78% corn, 12% malted barley, and 10% rye. It's non-age stated, but they think it's at least 12 years old and non-chill filtered.
I think it is actually age stated now. Don't they do that? Yeah, they're pretty on there.
It's 12 years.
That's a typo there because they've started doing this. This is 12.
Yeah, they used to have the old 12, Elijah Craig 12.
Yeah, back in the day, that was the best value on the shelf.
I still have a few of those with the big giant cork. That the pourers didn't fit it. They had special pourers made to fit it for speed racks.
So Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is uncut small batch of the 12-year-old bourbon bottled straight from the barrel which, listen, distillers, that all should be like this. Released 3 times per year and following the same coating system as the Larceny Barrel Proof, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof 521.
522. Yeah,
Another
sorry.
type
Is
of,
the second batch of Barrel Proof for 2022. And the nose is like chestnuts, caramel, vanilla.
Good boy, chestnuts, definitely. Yeah.
My initial, I went to the Japanese sweet store, so I ate all kinds of weird fruits and nuts. So it's all
we
in my
need to
head.
talk after the show. I'm ready to go.
We will. Okay, we'll go together. I'll go again. And the palate on it,
So good.
it's just so good. I feel like I'm cheating on my diet and my girlfriend at the same time when I drink this. It's so good. And the finish is medium delicious. And just go out and buy this and buy them all, and don't tell your friends, but share with your friends if they're nice. But otherwise, just drink it yourself. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, screw your friends. Just
Screw 'em.
hoard it. Crawl into the basement and hoard it. Covet it. Covet it like Gollum. Hold it like you're precious.
Yeah, but here's the thing with these barrel proofs. They are now doing, you're able to find this a lot easier, not necessarily the B20, the 522 or whatever, but a lot of stores are doing barrel proofs. So it's a lot more available.
They started doing it last year with barrel proof. I think I bought the last barrel in Florida that they would not give me barrel proof. Like the next month, they started barrel proof.
I was up there picking a barrel, and I got the press release on my phone that morning as I was walking down Main Street to go to the Old Forester Distillery to do the pick, that it said, "Oh, we're going to do barrel proof now." And I showed it to the guy, and he goes, "Nope." Like, you're killing me, man.
So yeah, we've got one coming for the Fort Lauderdale Whiskey Society in December. That's barrel proof. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes, but that's what's nice about this is that you're going to be able to get a lot more expressions.
A
lot more expressions of this. So, but other than that, Joan Jett has that song "Cherry Bomb."
Yeah.
This is Joan. Just to be Joan Jett's little sidekick, the Cherry Bomb. That's what I perceive it as. But I enjoy it. I mean, I don't know how you're going to improve something like this.
I love that the finish is really strong right at the very front palate, right at the edge of your tongue. It's pretty rare. It's very, very nice.
All I know is when I pick it up.
I am very aroused.
Yeah, this
We can
is
see that.
Yes.
even from this far away without your glasses. Sorry. Yeah, this is everything that you want a bourbon to be at a price you can actually afford. You know, this is fantastic. It's huge.
Not if I have anything to say for it.
It's got beautiful, just...
I will just price you out of the market.
It's got dried oak, but it's not a stringent dry oak. It's got caramel. It's got dark, almost burnt toffee. It's spicy as hell. It's fantastic. Again, the only bad thing is they didn't send a case.
But the good thing is that people are going to get a lot more varieties of this.
Well, the good thing is they sent it at all, and thank you very, very much to the folks at Heaven Hill for the sample.
Well, see, the single barrel ones are different. There's a lot more variety. There's a lot more variation of the single barrels. But this is their small batch.
This is what they're blending towards with. Yeah,
and I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you might get lucky and get a barrel that tastes like that when you're doing an individual pick, but they're able to put this out in quantity.
They can fill the holes or what a single barrel may not have.
Yeah.
I was doing a tequila tasting. I was going to buy a couple barrels of tequila. Individual barrels, they were like, okay. And I mixed two of them together. It's like they filled the holes. But you can't do that when you buy a single barrel. So,
well, you can just buy two and then mix them.
I'm not buying two barrels.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, cheap.
Well,
So if the master distiller's out sick, Harm's ready to fill in.
I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be scoring the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B522, a well-deserved 5 sips.
Oh my goodness!
Yes! 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 Yes!
All right, so that takes us to our last whiskey, and we're going to have Harm tell us about that one.
Thanks again, Bob. That's our last whiskey of the day is Cream of Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, bottled in bond, 50% ABV or 100 proof for you lawyers out there who can't do math other than 33%.
I resemble that remark.
He can do 42. He can do 40 and 1/3.
You can do 30 of anything.
Yeah. Nice. So this is the new release from Jim Rutledge, who is a master at his craft. This is the Cream of Kentucky label, is only the second rye release ever, following his High Plains rye released last year. This new expression for Cream of Kentucky is made with 100% Ryman rye. And I wrote down a whole bunch of rhymes for the word rye, and I'm not going to use them today because we're running out of time. Damn. It's distilled and aged and bottled in Kentucky, Artisan Distillery at Crestwood, Kentucky. The release was a limited run of only 70 barrels. The color is an old penny, and this is weird. This is unique. This is like no other rye I've ever smelled or tasted. I know Brent and I were talking about being kids and eating malto meal. Does anybody remember malto meal?
I remember.
Yeah. So this is like that malto meal nose with
Damn Yankees.
citrus.
We drink
orange
cream
peel.
of wheat. We do cream of wheat down here. But
Cream of wheat's for you effete Southerners who can't handle malt. You got to have your special wheat. It's all white. Malto meal has a little color to it and a little more flavor. So this is orange peel and like this malted cereal note on the nose. It's really strange. I don't get that. I don't get any of that spice I normally get from rye. On the palate, it was creamy. It started light, but then it builds. It's really creamy. And again, the malt and the citrus. The finish was long and interesting. I don't know what to make of this. Justin, you've got some weird expressions to share with us. What happened here?
So visually, this reminds me of like a circle of cream with a center of vibrant rye flavor, kind of like a weird gumball. And
I knew you were going to go weird, but that just...
that's really weird. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, the creaminess I've never had in a rye like this before.
It's not the spice, it's the creaminess. It's weird.
Yeah, that mouthfeel. But usually a rye's dry. This is creamy. What'd you think, Bob?
Again, the first thing I got on it was cream of wheat and citrus.
It's not cream of wheat, man. It's malto meal.
It's malto meal with oranges.
It's
a little
like
bit of butter, a little bit of brown sugar.
If you took a malted milk ball and scraped all the chocolate off of it and just got the inside part, that's what it is. On the palate, hold on. On the palate, I got cedar. I got like the slightest like pininess, almost like pine nut, pinoles. It's got a really great creamy coating mouth. Your whole mouth is coated with it. It's got a little bit
Pine
of a
nut's
peppery
good call.
spice to it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, right.
And
The cedar, a good call.
it's not what you expect. I find it really interesting, but it's not what you expect.
No, you get that with the creaminess of the mouthfeel. I get a lot of that baking spice as well that comes out.
Yeah.
That you don't expect when you're having this. When I'm eating my malto meal from when I was 5.
I've heard stories about your childhood. You didn't get malto meal. You ate sawdust and
That's right.
paint
sawdust
chips.
and paint chips. Yeah.
Lead paint, clearly.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Those are great to chew on.
When he ate them, he saw the pretty colors and the ceiling started to drip. Yeah.
Oh, but the finish on this is excellent.
Yeah, it's got a
baking
great
spice.
finish,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
The baking spice didn't come out till it
it's-
got air. I didn't get it earlier.
yeah, and we're going to enjoy this one.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be giving the Cream of Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey bottled in bond 4 sips.
That's classified.
Well, that's all the time we have today. I want to thank our co-host for joining us. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks for bringing me back to my childhood. I appreciate that.
I have heard about your childhood. You shouldn't thank anybody for that. Thank you, Harm.
Thank you, Bob, for having me, and thank you for reminding me why we left Canada.
I'm also not taking him back to his childhood because I've met his mom and his
It's cold up there, and the whiskey is like vodka, man. I want the heavy American whiskeys.
Thank you, Justin.
It's about time to say thank you, eh?
Put your toque back on, would you? All right, so this is Made Man Bob for Sip Suds and Smokes. Thanks for joining us. And remember, life is too short to drink bad whiskey.
Well, there was a few good ones today.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know what your name is, bud.
No, there wasn't bad ones.
No, it's a good day.
Yep.
Can't complain, but I am going back to the Elijah Craig.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're listening to us online, do yourself a favor and tap
Tap it in.
the subscribe button.
Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
The easiest way to listen to our show is to ask Siri, Alexa, Google, Uncle Larry, or whoever it is that talks to you on your phone. Play podcast Sip Suds and Smokes. We love your feedback, and you can reach us at info@sipsudsandsmokes.com. Our tasting notes flow out on Twitter and Instagram with our handle @SipSudsAndSmokes, and our Facebook page is always buzzing with lots of news. You'll also be able to interact with the thousands,
Millions and millions.
of other fans on those social media platforms. Do us a favor. Take the time to rate this episode if you're listening to us online. That's a big help to us, and we get to see your feedback as well. Come back, join us for another episode, and keep on sipping.
This has been a One Tan Hand production of Sip Suds and Smokes, a program devoted to the appreciation of some of the finer slices of life. From the Dude in the Basement Studios, your hosts, the Good Old Boys, will see y'all next time.